there are people who are actually liberals, right? Who present themselves as liberals, who actually have a, not like a very big, not like a giant audience, definitely an audience that is diminishing, but like spend all of their time still looking at the horrible things that are happening and then somehow finding a way to tie it back to the person that they despise the most. That was, of course, is Destiny, also known as Sexpestiny, who saw the American Gestapo laying siege on Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then turned around and was like, I'm actually really mad that, Hassan is out there protesting. I'm not going to go outside and protest myself. Of course, I would never do that because I'm a pussy. I'm a coward. But I will also, from my cowardly point of privilege in my own home, will demand that my cult-like audience go and disrupt what he's trying to do so that we can get a LSF clip off. Because if you noticed, there weren't any LSF clips off of the protest streams, even though, 70,000 people were watching, because they don't make it there. The only clips that make it there are ones that these guys try to manipulate in a certain way to try to make it seem as though it's like a super negative thing. And it's gone beyond. Now he's just like genuinely trying to get me killed, using his cult to try to put a direct crosshair on me, like direct target on me. I don't know why he won't just like focus on being a normal human being. But this dork ass cult loser said, you have a moral obligation to bully the fuck out of this guy if you ever see him in one of your protests. Don't let the CCP paid agitators infiltrate liberal crowds of protesters. Make his presence as uncomfortable as possible until he's forced to pack up and fuck off back to his WeHo mansion. First they say, all you do is sit in your WeHo mansion. And then when I'm not there, they go, oh, actually, we should bully you until you go back to your WeHo mansion. Now, of course, he's saying this kind of thing because he's a loser. This is it. If you are a fan of Destiny, understand, please. I know there's a lot of haters that come in here to like look at all the clips and stuff to try to see if they can find something to disparage me or smear me or whatever. He has led you astray. This is all he cares about. Okay? This is all he cares about. Nothing else. He just masquerades as a liberal, and maybe he has some liberal points of view. He really does hate Republicans for one reason or another. There's plenty of reasons to hate Republicans. I will say that. And he's a good debater. I will also admit that as well. But at the end of the day, his worldview is hollow. There's nothing there. It's just pure spite. This way, he can actually make it seem as though he's not just offended or envious or mad that there's someone else out there that liberals are paying attention to and not him, right? But instead, this is a serious, reasonable disagreement, an ideological disagreement that he has with me. If you genuinely were invested in liberalism, if you were genuinely invested in like combating Republicans, right? At this point, you probably would not align yourself historically with so many neo-Nazis and shit like that. But then also on top of that, you wouldn't be focusing on this, right? You wouldn't be focusing on this at all. This is a person who has quite literally debated to the ends of time that I'm a more dangerous figure for America than Adolf Hitler. He has said that he would rather vote for Adolf Hitler than vote for someone like myself. That's not even a joke. And for a lot of people that are in the commentary sphere that think this guy is like, brilliant, even though his own personal audience is basically like a cult and doesn't have a lot of motion, they do end up swinging way above their weight class with regular frequency because they're very online. They brigade Reddit all the time. They've been using LSF as like a cum sleeve for the longest time. Even though this kind of sentiment has no motion in the real world, as we see over and over again, it does have a tendency to make people think, make people online think twice, right? Every now and then. And before you say, why are we talking about this? I'll get to it in a second. Because like he is quite literally saying, when you go out to protest, like you shouldn't care about the actual protest itself. You should go out to harass this person. I mean, look at the message that he's putting out there to his audience. His audience has already targeted me in public before. It was a very funny moment when at the DNC, one of them came and then we found out that he was a ginormous racist. He was in his own Discord being like, oh, I'm seeing him here. I'm shaking. He's done that before. And he's also encouraged that before. But what happens when one of his fans actually has a knife or a gun? You know what I mean? I think he just hates people he sees less than himself. You wouldn't do this if he showed up to support some pro-Palestine protests. What the hell? I saw Hassan saying it's a good thing that he changed his position on Israel, even if it's not out of principle. Yes, this is the whole point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that this is utterly unproductive. That's the point. If he actually truly cared about combating ICE, he wouldn't be doing this shit. Why would you be doing this shit? We're supposed to be on the same side, right? But he doesn't care. All of this stuff is just another way to get an own. It's just crazy to me. Obviously, this is utterly motionless nonsense. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because he's straight up saying, if Dan wants to do something useful and still be a Hassan hater, he should create a Track Hassan X account that posts his current location when he's out at protests. His location should be publicly available at all times while he's live streaming. This is him at his cult. This is this morning. Telling his co-host, his podcast co-host, Dan Stalkman, who has been trying to get me deplatformed and has worked alongside the ADL and things like that to actively get a bunch of pro-Palestinian people deplatformed on this platform for maintaining the now majority position, right? He's telling him, like, don't just stalk him the way that you've been stalking him. Stalk him better. Stalk him directly. Yeah, this is the other thing that I was talking about. Look, I said the siege on Minneapolis, Minnesota is where you really see the West Bank occupation tactics on U.S. soil. Hassan's constant deflection to Israel is starting to amount to a defense of Donald Trump. He's shifting the blame off Trump every time he does this. This is the dumbest way to try to argue. And he, of course, clipped my perspective out of context once again. But that's what I mean. These guys cannot argue on the virtues. Yeah. And remember, this person has literally openly stated that it would be totally justifiable to attack and kill me in real life. This person who has solicited nudes from a minor, as we now know, in a civil court case that's ongoing. A civil court case that's ongoing because he distributed revenge porn and his victims got together and sued him. And he's spent every waking moment presenting himself as like this woke guy on the one side. Not even a woke guy. He's very edgy. He loves to say slurs and shit, but like a liberal debate god, while simultaneously he's doing stuff that's like completely antithetical to being in any way, shape, or form protective of minority populations. He's even like fantasized about calling ICE on one of his victims, right? I feel like he does this shit to clout farm off you. There's no way his community is as large as ours. There's just more vociferous and more prolific online. He lashes out. I know, but the reason why I'm showing this kind of stuff is so that people understand that this isn't like every now and then I got to check in and explain to you what I have to be dealing with, right? And then also on top of that, so that you're on the lookout for, bad faith actors like this if I go outside. Do I think platforms should take action against people like this? Yes, I do. I think this goes far beyond just like having reasonable political disagreements. You know what I mean? You're like actively demand to your cult-like fan base that they go out and find me in the wild and like harass me, or maybe do something else other than harass me. Then it'll be fine. It'll be good. It's fine. Yes, I think if you're clearly directing your fans to go and like hunt someone down, then yeah,